One of the things that people have been talking about is high priest. This fellow asked about it. Why is it that so much of the Restoration believes in this office of high priest? Because when I read the Scriptures, Jesus Christ is the high priest. And the Restoration says, we've always had this. It's just part of us. There's all kinds of churches that have priesthood offices that, there's no basis for in the Scriptures. Where do you find reverend in the Scriptures? It's not there. Where do you find pope in the Scriptures? It's not there. But there is high priest in the Scriptures. But this fellow comes along and he says, but when I read in the book of Hebrews, it says Jesus Christ is the high priest. In Hebrews chapter 5 it says, for every high priest taken from among men is ordained for men in things pertaining to God, that he may offer both gifts and sacrifices for sins. That's the purpose of a high priest, to offer gifts and sacrifices for sins. And the Restoration comes back and says, but wait, we know that there is the same priesthood that's going to be in the beginning is going to be in the end. So there's a need for a high priest. Let's go down a couple verses here in Hebrews chapter 5. And it says in verse 4, no man taketh this honor unto himself, speaking of the office of high priest, but he that is called of God, as was Aaron. So also Christ glorified not himself to be made a high priest. He didn't choose that for himself. He didn't say, I'm coming to earth to be a high priest. But he that said unto him, God that said unto him, thou art my son, today have I begotten thee. And as he saith also in another place, thou art a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. There is this priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. Well, let's read further in Hebrews 7. In Hebrews 7, as it talks about the office of high priest and how there's a difference between the Levitical priesthood and the Melchizedek priesthood. About how there's a difference between what was according to the law and what is according to God's purpose in the end. And it talks about how there was a change, and that there was no more need for a priest to become from Levi, because Jesus Christ came from the tribe of Judah. And all this is kind of minutia, or stuff that you get into with an argument of there needs to be the same priesthood offices in the end as in the beginning. But here, let's start at verse 20. It says, of chapter 7, it says, inasmuch as this high priest was not without an oath, by so much was Jesus made the surety of a better testament. That oath being that God said, I swear and will not repent, that you are a high priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. For those priests, those Levitical priests, were made without an oath, but this with an oath, by him that said unto him, the Lord sware and will not repent, thou art a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. Speaking of Jesus Christ, speaking of his office, speaking that he is a priest forever, not just for a period of time. Well, what difference does that make? Verse 22 says, and they truly were many priests, these Levitical priests, because they were not suffered to continue by reason of death. They died. They don't go on forever. They couldn't continue to fulfill the function forever of offering up sacrifices for sins. But this man, Jesus, because he continueth ever, hath an unchangeable priesthood. It's never going to change. He's there forever as the high priest. And what does he do for us? Wherefore he is able also to save them to the uttermost that come unto God by him, seeing he ever liveth to make intercession for them. Jesus makes intercession for us. He stands between us and God. He hears our prayers. He's the one that will take our prayers to God when we offer them humbly and repentantly, and ask him for forgiveness and ask him for guidance. He takes those prayers before God and he says, please bless them. He takes those prayers and he allows us the opportunity to come into the presence of God. Intercedes for us when we stand before him for judgment. He stands between us and God and says, these are the ones that get through. These are the ones that are my people. These are the ones that are my sheep. For such a high priest became us, who is holy, harmless, undefiled, separate from sinners, and made ruler over the heavens. That's what separates Jesus Christ from a man. There is a big difference, a huge difference between Jesus Christ and a man that ever held the office of high priest. And not as those high priests who offered up sacrifice daily, first for their own sins, and then for the sins of the people. For he needeth not offer sacrifice for his own sins, for he knew no sins, but for the sins of the people. Another huge difference. Jesus had no sins. He was perfect. He didn't have to offer a sacrifice first for his own sins, then for the sins of the people. He offered the sacrifice once for the sins of the people, that they would be forgiven, that they would have the opportunity to come back into God's presence through that sacrifice. And this he did once when he offered up himself on the cross function, and that he would offer a sacrifice, a perfect sacrifice, one that would make a difference in a way that no man's sacrifice ever could. Now of the things which we have spoken, this is the sum. We have such a high priest who is set on the right hand of the throne of the majesty in the heavens, a minister of the sanctuary and of the true tabernacle which the Lord pitched and not man. There's another difference. These other high priests, they don't sit on the right hand of God until they're judged that they can come and do that. But God already has done that with Jesus Christ. He's already chosen. He already sits on the right hand of God. He's already claimed to be his son. There is a testimony about Jesus Christ. He is our high priest. He sits on the right hand of God and makes intercession for us. He does it in a way that no man can. And he does it in a way that it says he's doing it forever. That's his purpose as a high priest. Something that no man can ever fulfill.
Thank you for letting us share this message with you, a message dedicated to the truth found in the gospel of Jesus Christ. We have other messages available on YouTube and at our website. Check back with us often as we add more messages. Remember, truth is essential to your salvation. There is a way that seemeth right unto man, but the end thereof is death. Seek the truth. Be sure to understand why you believe what you believe. Thank you.